my vice. Man up from Mars, he tripping, I put that on guard. I got the digits, but I am not calling. Wizard at night, this be that forum. I'm just gonna stack with that. Sunshine after that. Just gonna stack with that. Sunshine after that. So yeah, you know, I had a conversation with her, but it's like the signals is always crossed. I mean, like, I say yes, cause she asked me to say yes. And then she's like, I didn't want you to say yes. I wanted you to understood that a yes was required to answer the question. I was like, what?
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the spot, the Stacked After Hours spot. We are back from being off on last week. My name is Natalie Cosby, and welcome to the show for Grown Folks Talk. Tonight, we are talking about societal influences in relationships, and what do we mean by that? Basically, does your circle, your family, your friends, pressures, yourself, your wants, your needs, how do they influence your relationship, social media? So we're going to talk about it tonight. So y'all get ready, get your cocktails. We want those fingertips loose because we want to hear your comments and questions from y'all. And here at SI, we keep it lit and enlightening. So Montaigne, let's get into it. Look at this beautiful, diverse, demographically panel. I love it. So tonight, I am super excited because we have, I don't want to call him, I don't want to call him a young whippersnapper. He's a grown, full-ass man, new to the show, our first millennial, giving us a younger, fresher, but he's lived his life perspective, Mr. Henry McCormick. Hey, Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have we call her Quiet Storm. I call her Dr. Maria De Longoria. Welcome to the show, Riri. She's also one of our producers, so I'm excited to have her to talk about this topic.
Right.
Next, we have our lady hot in Texas. Lord have mercy, nothing. Don't mess with Texas.
No.
Tanera, she's in rare form tonight. She already told me that on stage. Tanera Matthews.
Thank you for
And then,
having me.
of course, the other two gentlemen, Brother Malcolm Jones. Welcome to the show. And of course,
Thank you.
Olu Fole. Hey, everybody. How y'all
Hello,
doing?
hello.
When you said millennial, I thought you were talking about me for a minute.
Oh, of course, I think we all have a millennial spirit in our heads. I know
Right.
it's not match, but who knows?
It's all about how you wake up. You know,
Exactly, and how
you don't wake up the same every time. No.
It's the floor. Absolutely. So me and Anthea were kind of talking about this whole conversation about influences in our relationships, friends, family, social media, our own personal goals, the things that we want in our lives. And I thought about it because I went home because people watched the show last week, and me and Keith and other people on the show talking about relationships. And people always ask me, like, what is the pressure? How often do your friends or family ask about y'all's relationship status? And how do y'all normally respond? I'm going to actually start with Henry because you're kind of new to the show, and I kind of want to hear a little bit of your status. And then when people hear about you, how do you kind of respond?
So I'm a proud single father of 4, never married, 3 baby mamas. Story.
Okay.
So something again, I don't hide from. A lot of people would look at that as a negative. And I'm a realist, obviously, so I understand that does have its own weight. But when it comes to I guess, societal pressures, I think that is essential, that we have to start paying attention to who our mate is, because they're not only a direct reflection of who we are and how we view ourselves, and psychology will tell you that, but then also it is a direct reflection of the community in which we represent. Having a partner that shares in your experiences, that looks like you, that is part of the same culture and community, is valuable. There's a reason why, you want to bring home someone that at the end of the day, you can confine into in your most deepest and vulnerable state. I mean, the only person who can understand that is that person that comes from that same experience. So, for me, anyone that I date, has to understand that. Like, number one, they're gonna look like me. They're gonna come from my community, and they're gonna share my experiences, because we have to raise children together. And I need to know that when I'm out working, providing, is that she's going to be at home instilling the morals and values that we have come up together, and are going to pass down to our grandchildren, not just our children. So I think it's essential that anyone that I personally date, and for anyone that any influences that are amongst my community, amongst my friends and my family, they're part of that community as well. So, anyone that I date has to be part of that as well. And their points, and their input has to mean something.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Do people, you being a father of 4, do people, and having 3 baby mamas, do people be like, so why don't you marry one of them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's always the goal, right? When you're a kid and you doing grown folk stuff, right? You think that that's what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to marry. You live in that fantasy world. But unfortunately, I didn't have the knowledge to, I lived in, it was taught to me the fantasy world, of, you get married and you have kids, and that's what my, then everything kind of follows, after that. Right. And that's what my parents did. But they didn't teach me all the rest of it. Right. They didn't teach me hey, you got to be responsible. You got to be, cautious too. You're going to be, you have to be, you're going to be sought after, right? And you got to be making wise decisions, and don't try to be too grown too fast, right? So, and when I was young, all of it was new to me. It was just kind of like, ooh, they like me. We want to do what? So, I didn't get that I guess that pre-course. Any other job, you get a training manual, right? I ain't getting none of that, right? I was kind of just throwing into the fire and figure it out. And for a lot of young folk, it happened to be that way. For me, I was blessed to have the foundation, though, to still be different than what the outlier. I consider myself an outlier. Yeah. So, I was lucky to have that, where a lot of, people don't have that stability, don't have that type of foundation that can, I guess, tunnel all that madness into a vision. So
okay, madness, but okay, all right. I'm gonna go ahead and Tanera, because I know you've had your kids, been married. You have 3 kids. So my question is, it's just like, now that you are back in a relationship, what are the expectations after living a certain type of lifestyle for you to get remarried from your friends?
Yes and no. I think, a lot of people at this age, to me, don't necessarily push me in one way or the other. But recently, this past weekend, I went to a birthday party, and a girlfriend of mine did approach me. He was there. And so I guess they can feel energy, or think, whatever they perceive of the relationship. The question comes up, like, what's next? Or, are you going to get married? And I immediately said no. That's been my response pretty consistently, is no, I'll have a lifetime partner, but not really interested in marriage. And I have my reasons, but what I found, and it was okay, but she almost responded as if it was a trauma response. So she was like, you're holding on to trauma, you're bringing issues from past relationships, and that's why you're saying you will not marry again. So, to me, I feel like there's no win. If you say, you're going to get married or you want to get married, people will question like, why, why do you want to do that again? And if you say no, people question, well, what's wrong with you? Or why don't you? So I don't really succumb to that pressure. I just kind of have my own reasons because I've been there and done that.
Okay. I mean, I as a woman like myself, like who has never been married, similar to Henry, I don't have children, but I understand. I think women always get it a little bit more. Like we're expected to be married. If we're not been married, what's wrong with you? Like what's the issue? And so as I always hear these conversations, and as Henry said, he's like, I'm an outlier, but I'm able to take care of my children and so on and so forth. I think about like women who do have children but have never been married. And Maria, I know that's a little bit of your story. So just kind of for you as in that space, where are you now at this 50 something sexy age of trying to move and be in a relationship and that expectation of still maybe having it off the checklist or not?
Okay. Before I answer, can I just ask Malcolm to move back a little bit? It's driving me crazy that the top of your head is cut off.
Yes, go ahead.
So I don't feel the pressure now to get married, right? There was more pressure to get married when I was pregnant with my first son. I was offered money to get married, right?
Wow.
With him. And I did
From
not.
who? From who?
My grandmother.
Okay.
My grandmother. I have a little something for you when you get married. And I'm like, I'm not getting married. And she kept trying to coax me, and I won't say my intention was, let me get pregnant and not get married. It was like, okay, here we are. And what's my best move for me at this point? And my best move for me at that point was not to get married. So that was a conscious decision. Now, for me, it's more important to have a committed relationship with somebody that can be my partner, and can give me what I need. Would I like to get married? Sure. But it's not, for me, it's not the total, it doesn't have to be the end game, right? The end game for me is to have somebody that is as into me as I am into them, that wants to give me what I want to give them, and can commit to a relationship, and move forward.
All right. Fellas, my senior dudes. People say like men, it doesn't matter with men. Like y'all are cool being single. I've heard like there's been so many things like y'all don't want to get married, y'all good where y'all are, as long as y'all have a partner at this point. For the brothers who are a little bit older, I'm not speaking, not necessarily, I think that's what Henry is experiencing. But Malcolm, when we had our conversation, is there like a point or time frame where you like, and Malcolm, you can go ahead and speak to kind of what your story is, but as a guy who's in his late, like I call it the third quarter of life, what is your aspect of marriage
The fourth quarter.
or relationships, just being in a relationship in general?
I'm like 25, 50, 75.
I like how you.
Quarter. You got past halftime, baby. Go ahead.
The third quarter, aka close to an old head, right? Yeah. So, what's funny is we had these conversations. So I get more of those conversations from my female friends. Like a few that know me, and I like, you ever like, like a few know.
What do they ask?
They'll just be like, you gonna get married this time when you meet this next girl? That's that. My homegirl just asked me this like the other day, and I was like, yo, let me just meet her first, B. Like, let me just meet her, see how it go, or whatever. She's like, because her thing would be like, you can't do, be single forever. you know, you gotta commit. Like she would think I had like a commit phobia or something. I'm like, nah, it wasn't the case. It just some shit just didn't work. You know what I'm saying? So I've gotten it as of late. You know, it's funny as you said this, asked me this, and I've had like 2 conversations like the last 2 weeks. One by my aunt and one by one of my homegirls. Guys don't ask me that. Guys, you know, we'll have other conversations, but it's never on marriage because most of my friends are either married, divorced, or none of them are ever trying to be married. So I have all 3 bags, and but I do get it from my female friends.
Okay.
Like, you know, what's your problem? Are you being too picky? You know all of that, and you're just like, nah, it's not. But people are always just trying to figure it out because they just assume that I should be, you know, and I always tell them, you don't take that for granted, you know, just because people feel you should be this, that, or other. It just doesn't work like that in the real world. You know, you have to meet somebody that's really, at this point, meet somebody that's willing to even put in the work or the effort or whatever adjective that you want to be in a monogamous relationship, and then try to go there, you know, to marriage, if that's something that you both agree on. But I'm good either way. Like if I was single, if it don't work out, I ain't gonna be like a no woe is me state because life's too fragile.
I think that's key. The whole woe
You
is
know,
yeah.
yeah, it's too fragile to be like, you know, would I like to get married? Yes. But you know, I ain't gonna curl up in a corner. I'm gonna just try to enjoy, you know, life as best as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with Olu, I know you're Nigerian, and culturally, it's expected, right? And you're supposed to marry within. I mean, is it arranged? Is it like you're supposed to marry her, and then even though you may not, right? You may fall in love with someone else from another culture. Is it
Yeah.
even more
So
restrictive?
in the Nigerian culture, they wear marriage like a badge of honor, and
And it should be.
well, what if you're not happy in your marriage, you know? And that's a lot of situations, and there's a lot of societal pressures and pressures from family, especially. So it's high school, college, when she graduate, marry, and that's it. And you know, times are changing, and like you said, a lot of Nigerians. Well, this wasn't before, and my mom was one of them. Like, oh, yo, you got to marry. Not only do you have to marry a Nigerian woman, you have to marry somebody from your hometown, from where your family is, like from your village. And I'm like, times have changed. You know what I'm saying? It's not so. Times have changed. I'm glad. You know, you see a lot of Nigerians marrying non-Nigerians, marrying white people, marrying people from other cultures, other countries, and everything. I mean, they're not embracing the same-sex marriage just yet, but you know, and again, I host weddings, and I see where people say, "Oh, thank God she finally found somebody to marry her," but you know, that shouldn't be the case. Marriage is it's about being happy, and I figure that a lot of people, not just Nigerians now, marry because of the pressures that's put upon them, and they end up in these marriages and they're miserable. and that's the truth. But you know, it shouldn't be that way. Marry because you want that commitment, and not just because society's putting that pressure on you. And it's a shame that a lot of people succumb to that.
I mean, I know we're talking about marriages, but I think even in relationships, like people have been like, how's your love life? I'd be like, don't ask me that damn question, please. It is so annoying. But
Sorry. You know
go
the one
ahead.
thing where Nigerians do, they'll be like when they like married women, when they see their single unmarried friends, they'll be like, oh, we're praying for you, don't worry. And that's just so uncomfortable. Like, how do you know she wants to get married anyway?
Right.
Wait a
Wait a minute.
we're getting to a point where, from what I know, a lot of women don't want to get married. They want companions. So just like men. And you can understand, because if it doesn't work out, all the stuff you have to go through with a divorce and everything is just too much.
I don't know. I kind of have a different viewpoint than a lot of y'all, and I don't want to say it's an age thing. I just think it's one of the ones where it's how you view relationships, right? I think that there's a few things I want to touch on, but one thing I said, if you're not dating to be married, then like what's the point? Like I just don't understand the point. Like if that's not the end goal, then y'all just being physical. To completely invest into someone and have not only that level of commitment and that level of companionship, because it's not, trust me, you can be a companion, but when you have someone that's you're going to be your companion forever and they've told you that and they're displaying that through their actions, then that's a whole different level of commitment to you. Like that's why there's a difference between a girlfriend and a wife. If it was all the same, we just call her a lady. No, there's levels to it. And I'm making a commitment to you not only by telling you this and telling the world this and telling everybody who sees me, like, oh, you see this? This ain't no game. Move. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm making a commitment visually and to you on top of that. So I think if marriage isn't the goal, then you're really just wasting your time at the end of the day. And majority of human nature are monogamous creatures, right? So we want to find our partner. Now, what that looks like, it could be different, right? But at the end of the day, we don't want to be sharing 5 different beds. We like that one bed. And especially as men, we don't even operate in that way, in that sense. Most men will be miserable, as you want to call it, right? But be still completely happy that they don't have to deal with some other shit. Like I'd rather be miserable with my one person than miserable with 5 people. I mean, I don't know about you, like that. As I've gotten older, I mean, had my fun when I was younger, of course, but when I've gotten older, being miserable with 5 different people is terrible. Like that's worse. Like who wants to do that? So I don't get the where the fun is with that anymore. You know what I'm saying?
You can be happy with one person. Why do you have to be miserable with one person?
Because if you look at the definition of psychology and love, right? Your love comes from the pain, right? If you can't be through the pain with somebody, if they're not willing to open up to you at their most vulnerable state, that's where the true connections and bonding comes from. You think about any type of organization, any major grouping of people, right? Their love for each other comes from their pain. You think about, African American people, right? Africans born in America.
You're saying the love that we had, that we bond as a people, is through our trauma.
Exactly. Through our pain. Trauma and pain are 2 different things. Because you can trauma bond with somebody is different than you going through pain. Right. So my struggle with someone makes me appreciate them and value them more. That's why I can. That's why I can never.
Talking about the journey of the struggle. Are you talking about? Is that what you're trying to say? You're trying to say the journey.
Exactly.
Okay. I was like, wait. You talking about people like wait?
No. So we're not talking about trauma, right? You're not saying, hey, we both had faced this deep dark trauma, and we're gonna bond because of that. No, that's saying that. There's no journey that's better than the one that went from nothing to something.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Please, can I ask you a question? Let's back.
Yes, sir.
You said humans are monogamous by nature.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get that research from? And can I? Because we're not. What makes us monogamous is discipline and commitment.
In society, is the American construct make us monogamous?
No, so poly relationships from human nature is based off of power and access to resource. So we're as humans have evolved, right? We weren't just saying, okay, every guy gets 5 girls and every girl is going to be a wife to another guy, right? We're not all sharing, that, right? What had happened? What normally happens?
Where you going with this, Henry? But let's wrap it. Go ahead.
There was actually.
I'm like,
no. What I'm saying is, like, so if we're talking about the goals, like the back in the day, way back in the day, right? Where we think that men had 5 different wives and that was normal, amongst that type of society.
Right.
Now as we have evolved, right? Most people pair together and they stick with each other because that's what's number one, the most safest thing for both of them to do. And it makes the most economic sense in how to
So
divvy out
let
resources.
me put
That'll be another show. Okay.
let me put a pin in it right now for a second, because I feel like, not putting in a pin in it, but I want to pause for a second, because I know Tanera had a question. I'm sure Maria and Malcolm had a question. I think so. My thing is, it's just like, I think in an ideal, and when we talk about Black culture, it's an ideal that we want to be in this pairing bond, go through struggle so we can get to the mountaintop idea. I don't necessarily know if that's what's actually happening, because us staying together, we stay together. I don't know how long we stay. We actually are able to get to the other side of the mountain all the time. And I mean, when I hear what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, because I do agree. In our ideal sense, we do want to be in monogamous relationships. I think, especially in this country as we live. But I'm just like, I think it's all the others. It's the underbelly of what's not happening to keep us together. Go ahead, Olu.
So if the concept of marriage let's just say it was based on the Bible doesn't promote monogamous relationships. The Bible promotes man having multiple wives. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's natural for men, and it's a shame that, men and society have to suppress women to say, you just got to be with one man. But to be honest with you, I don't think we're monogamous by nature, but we can be through discipline and commitment. So when you're committed to somebody, you understand, like, and when you meet somebody, you understand, like, okay, it's just going to be the both of us. Don't step out. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's just going to be me and you. Then that's when you commit to be monogamous. But I think it takes an extra step. I don't think we're naturally monogamous.
So I want to say something too. So in terms of statistics, right? And these are not from, I just pulled some stats from Black demographics. 30% of Black people are married or have been married. 33% of Black men have been married. Are married. 27% of Black women have been married. Out of those, 10% of Black men are divorced. 13% of Black women are divorced. 8% are widowed. 48% of Black women have never been married. 52% of Black men have never been married. Now, this doesn't give us by age, but that's just something to throw into the conversation.
Exactly.
Thank you for the stats. That's
for the stats.
Google's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. I think out on this panel, 2 people have been married out of the 6.
I would say that marriage for men is a choice, though.
Marriage for women is a choice as well.
Go ahead, Tanera. Wait. Go ahead.
Well, in a sense of,
Tanera,
go ahead. You're right.
Yeah, you dropping too many nuggets. We got to backtrack on you a little bit.
Okay.
So first, Henry said, if your goal is in marriage, you're wasting your time. I do think that's a little bit of ageism. I think when I wanted to have kids and I was thinking of a partner to raise my kids, and the consistency in the household of what I wanted that to look like, then yes, I was probably, I got married young, but it was important to me. At this age, my kids are pretty much out of the house. And I think I can have a lifetime partner where every morning or every day we choose one another and we decide if we're going to be faithful and we're going to be there. And it's a committed relationship. And the day one of us decide that we don't want to, we don't have to fill out paperwork and get attorneys and divide this and divide that. I think it can be equally fruitful since I've had both scenarios. That was one thing you said a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So, but you make good points. Good points.
Good point. And again, DNA test just shows that we're not monogamous by nature.
No. Whether you're married, committed, anything, doesn't guarantee it.
Show that he's not the daddy, he's not the father.
Yeah.
Years after. So it's just not, but commitment and discipline and respect is what I think keeps us within the confines of a relationship. And when you agree, and you and I agree, like, okay, we're not smashing anybody else. It's just the both of us. If there's any issues, we're going to try to work it out. Yeah. And if we can't work it out, we go our separate ways.
Yeah. And I think even in a committed relationship that isn't marriage, you can still have pain vulnerability, those dynamics that you don't have to be married. Sometimes people are married and they don't have that. I know a lot of people that were married and operated single. And some people are in committed relationships and they truly are committed to one another and growing and that sort of thing. It's just an individual choice.
So if somebody said,
Oprah never married. Oprah is richer than Homeboy. That's why she never got married.
but so can I, so
Well, that's a terrible example.
Right.
She only live in the same universe as we do, as the everyday black person.
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
why are we even bringing her up?
Yeah.
Or even any celebrity.
I think it sounds like societal pressures are really based around the monogamy aspect of relationship.
Stigmas.
Like, are
Yeah,
you
big
in a
time.
monogamous relationship with someone? I mean, because I was like, is it about it is for some people it is the stamp of marriage because it's approval.
Symbolization.
It's
But is
still
that it, Natalie? Because is that really it? Because if you really think about people are married and old school parents and stuff like that, they'll say, well, every man cheats and this sort of thing. So is it about monogamy?
I said the
I was just gonna say,
appearance.
to her
I
point.
said the appearance.
The appearance.
Not monogamy itself.
Sorry, can I say something, please? Sorry, I'm sorry. Most men want women to be monogamous, while they want to be polyamorous, polygamous.
Right.
And that's what it is. That's society. That's the truth.
That's true.
That's
That's
only because they can.
What?
So I don't. So what? Listen. Let me pause. So
I'm sorry.
men
He's
will
about to jump down your throat, homeboy.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No,
So
no,
men will
no,
only men will only step out when there's people that will allow them to do so. Like
But-
there has to be accountability on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm in a relationship, or say I'm married, right? I got a ring on my finger.
Mhm.
And I go somewhere and I obviously have a ring on my finger and I approach someone and they show interest.
You gotta act on it.
Why are you approaching somebody to begin with if you're
I
married?
agree with that. I 100% agree with that. That's not what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that it has to be accountability on both sides, right? You can't just be like, okay, all men are going to cheat, because I think that's a false narrative that's out there that makes, especially amongst black men, that we can't be monogamous and be committed, especially to black women. So I think that, the ideology that we always going to do this is just a false narrative. I think that there has to be accountability on both sides, where if a man goes out with a ring, that women have to also be like, no, just, and vice versa. If a woman has a ring on, and a guy shouldn't be trying to approach her, like, hey, she's obviously committed to someone else, right? It has to be accountability on both sides.
Somebody can't cheat if there's nobody to cheat with.
Exactly.
Right.
It should be that. It would be that simple,
it's not
right?
a solo thing.
You got to be accountable just for yourself and your commitment. You
Right.
can't hold the
100%.
next person accountable.
So
They're single.
Can we step out of Bobby world for a minute?
Oh, they don't. Well, they single in a relationship. It shouldn't
Or
matter. Like,
they're
it should be a sense of
One
morals
person,
and values that
one
people.
person at a time. Go
I'm sorry,
ahead,
let me ask you a
Henry, and then
But what
Ola.
if they're married?
No. Go ahead, go, bud.
What if that married man steps to a woman and he wants to pay for sex? You think the woman's going to say, no, you're married, I'm not going to have sex with you?
Depending what woman it is.
Yeah, I know a lot of. I mean, I would say everybody got a price, but I'm saying, at the same time, there has to be a stamp of value and moral, right? Like, I don't. If as a person and as a human, I'm not saying whether you man or a woman, you have to have some type of value to you, that says, hey, I want to choose people who choose me. As in the sense of, like, I want my one person to choose me every single day, and I want to choose them every single day. And if someone else chooses them, I want them to remind them that they've already made a choice. Like, it should be that simple. Like, you should almost be. I don't even want a woman who is already committed to somebody else. Like, that for me doesn't even sound exciting at this phase of my life, and I don't understand how people find this narrative that's exciting to anyone. Like, for me, I wouldn't value her at all. Like, you've already committed to somebody, why would I even want you?
Well, that's you, and we all have different standards. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying
I think that's the problem.
I'm just giving you the reality. But I think the responsibility is on the person that's in a relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're committed to that person and you've agreed that you guys are going to remain exclusive, you're not smashing anybody else when you travel, when you do whatever. And for me, I can use myself as an example. I won't do that because I won't like it if it's done to me, and that's what keeps me in check.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it.
True.
And if you're married and your significant other steps out, I'm not going to be the one sizing up the chick. He committed to me. That's his responsibility. That was his commitment to me. So for me to say it's shared responsibility, I don't know if I agree with that.
So I
No, he
want
wasn't.
to talk.
Yeah,
I
like,
want to
I
talk
see
about.
when women
Go
find
ahead.
like their husband's side chicks and they start beating up the side chicks. And
Yeah.
no, you didn't
Right.
take a vow with the side chick or
Exactly.
commitment with her. That's what is it?
What is?
What's the video?
Oh,
This is
Okay,
cheaters.
Montaigne.
I cannot. Montaigne, I cannot. This is cheaters.
All right.
Is that cheaters?
So that,
People are
my point
cheaters?
is
Cheaters.
the
Yes.
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
relationship.
So
Go ahead.
we kind of talk. So, you know, I think when we get into these relationships that we hold valuable, right? And someone steps out and ruins and does something that may cause a wrench, or someone finds out in your circle. How have you handled that? How they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you, blah, 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 blah. How do you kind of handle not only what goes inside your house, but also the embarrassment of what goes outside your house?
ooh, that's hot.
Come on, y'all.
Let me refill my glass.
Refill it.
Yo.
How have y'all handled that one?
Say it again, Nat. I ain't hear the question.
You heard that question.
What?
Stop playing.
Oh. You
It's
know
not,
what?
it when things get ruffled at home and outside forces find out
Yeah.
in your social circle or your family or friends, how do you handle that?
Oh, I've learned that one. I've learned that one.
What did you learn, Malcolm?
The one thing I've learned is you just gotta keep a lot of stuff to yourself. That's the one thing. You know, you just can't be communicating a lot of your personal information to family and friends because they may have your best interest, but it gets messy sometimes. It does. It just gets messy. So, but when things go wrong, they'll always say, well, why didn't you tell me? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I've learned to kind of keep stuff close at vest. Maybe one person that I can like, hey, confide to about, but not a general, you know, because it just gets messy.
Malcolm, it sounds like you're assuming that you're the one that's telling, right? And I thought Natalie's question, I could be wrong. I thought Natalie's question was more like maybe they find out or something public happened, right? That's how
I'm sorry. I heard.
Interpreted it.
It could be either way. You could be telling, or I mean, some people confide because they're trying to bounce ideas, but it may find. I mean, even if something happens in your circle with your significant other, and it tears y'all apart, and it tears your community apart, because you know there are couples that people admire, there are couples that people look up to, there are couples that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that shit happened to them, and such did this, right?
I think it goes back to that accountability thing. I mean, to look at both sides of it, you know, we have to hold those type of people that we hold at that esteemed value accountable to their actions, you know, and then we also got to hold them accountable to making that work. You know what I'm saying? Like that they have to go through that pain, and we have to see that as well. We always want to see when it's good. We don't never want to see when it's bad. We don't never want to see the struggle. We don't want to see the work. We don't want to see the pain. We don't want to see people getting tore up from the inside. Right? They don't. We don't want to see the work that it takes to build that back up, whether that's the trust or the love or whatever you want to call it. We don't want to see that part of it. We want to see the white picket fence and the great story told with the great ending. And I think that's what makes, and that's to my point before, that's what makes that story great, is that you can see the up and down. Like I want my love. I want my love in my marriage to be like my stock account. You know what I'm saying? I want it always to be moving
It
up,
can be
right?
bare or bold.
You know what I'm saying? It can be moving. It's gonna move. It's gonna be volatile. It's gonna be. It's not gonna be no. It's not gonna be no healthy index. Let's say that. It's gonna go bouncing left and right.
Henry, I'm gonna call you on that. Is that how you got 3 baby mamas? Was it volatile? Like, I'm sorry.
No. Well, yes.
I'm not trying to be shady at all.
No. Yes and no. Yes and no. You know, yes and no, because I didn't choose the right one first. That was my first mistake. Is that I didn't find the one that I was supposed to go to battle with. So I wasn't taught how to find that person to even go to war with. You know, so I go to with mine, I'll go to war with them, but I gotta find that one first to go to war with.
Can I give you just a little
Did
piece
you
of
pick,
advice?
so are you,
You
did
said
you
you
pick
didn't
Olu?
Hold on, Olu. Go ahead, Marie.
Let me just give you a little piece of advice. You said you didn't find the right one first, right? That will translate to your child in a whole nother way. So you might want to find some different words to express that, because that child may feel like, oh, I'm not the right one. My mama wasn't the right one. And I'm just, I just want to say, just maybe phrase that in some way that it may not transfer to a child. I have 2 baby daddies, right? And so I understand, I think, what you were trying to say. But for me, I got the best of what their fathers had to give. Were they the best person for me to marry? No. But I got the best that they had to give in my children. And that's one of the things that when I see my kids are amazing. And so there was something that came from that relationship that manifested these amazing children, right? So I got the best of what they had to give. So I didn't marry them because they were not the best for me.
Right.
Yeah, see, I don't like the sugarness of that personally. I think my exactly how I said it was exactly how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? It's that I was a child making grown folk decisions.
And so how do what do you think how do you think your child might feel?
Come on, phone.
I want them to identify with that. I want them to identify that, hey, let's not repeat this same cycle. You know, let's not, hey, my son knows that, hey, when, you know, we're not having children, right, out of wedlock, right? We're folk, you know, this is what comes from that. And I want my son to see the strife and struggle that it took me to get to where I'm at now, to provide the lifestyle that he's accustomed to currently. But it didn't start that way. And I hope to provide him with enough adversity in his life, controlled adversity at that he can say, okay, I want to be better than you. I want to learn from your mistake, you know, from your mistakes. I want to have that accountability, because I know the hole that I had to dig to bury myself, you know, to unbury myself. So
I'm not saying you don't do that. I did the exact same thing. My kids, I told them I wanted more. I want more for you than what I had. They saw the struggle. We've had those conversations, and I have 2 boys, but they also know that they were not mistakes. That maybe I didn't make the best choices, but they are here and they are the best people that they could be. That what I got from their fathers manifested in them as the best part of them. And I think that is critically important, particularly when we're raising Black kids in this society. That's just for me a thing.
I have a question, just a real question for Henry. What is your relationship with the mothers of your children, and how does your circle see the mothers of your children?
So so to answer your first question, I have a great, I would say, a responsible co-parenting relationship with them. You know, all my kids are here half the time. We go 50-50 on everything when it comes to the children. They can, depending on the issue, you know, it's pretty transparent on, you know, what's going on in their life from in that household. If the issue is big enough, I translate how it's going on in my household. You know, so it's healthy in that sense. You know, we can even be cordial in public. Like, we ain't no best friends. I'm not calling them for no, you know, if it doesn't have nothing to do with the kids. Right. But, you know, I can jokey, haha, kiki in it with them. You know, if we're in person and my kids are able to see us together, and even see us have a conversation to handle situations that's resolved into, you know, or that's revolved around them. Now, do we get along? You know, do we disagree? Of course. I would do that if it was with, my wife and, if that was the case. But at the same time, I'm able to separate church and state, in the sense of, they have an expectation of how they treat me and how they treat anyone that I'm with. And I have the same thing for them. I treat them with the same respect and whoever they're with.
Okay.
And then my circle, on the other hand, I'm again one of those people who had children young, and pretty much my whole adulthood has been being a father on top of everything else. So everyone that knows me has seen me, as the young people say, get out the mud, right? Seeing me go through the strife and go through the struggle, and see me be a better version of myself through them. Because again, people don't look at me as how good I'm doing. They look at them and how they are raised and what type of children they are, because they're a reflection of me.
Right. But I always say, like you said earlier, and I please correct me if I misquote you, around the people that you choose, especially the people you have chosen to have children with, right? Like Maria said, they weren't necessarily the best part. She said
the best for me.
They got the best part of their fathers, and you produced amazing sons, which is I think is very admirable to say about somebody you chose not to marry with. But I think, like I always say, when you're in those relationships with that person at the time, and Maria, you can answer this too. How were they received? And I know both of you are young. I know y'all were, but Maria, when you were a little bit older, when you were probably closer to Henry's age when you had your second one, you had a little bit more, right?
Yeah, so there's
in your 30s. Henry, I don't know how old your youngest ones are, but I'm really curious, like, how did your circles receive the person that, let's say, your last baby mama or your last baby father?
For me, the both of them wasn't so well received. I think there was a hope, and well, it depends who you ask, right? So there were a couple of people that were excited. There were a couple of people like, "Are you freaking crazy?" And then there were a couple of people who were like, "Ugh." And then with the second one, there was some of the same. And I mean, I made my choices anyway, right? And there are 12 years between my kids. There's 12 years. And so my oldest Henry is about your age. I had my first one young. And then and I kept saying I wasn't having any more. And then, 12 years later, I was like, oh, I guess I'm having another one. But there was some kind of like unspoken, there was some spokenness, but there was also that unspokenness about, oh, you're having it, and who's that's the oh, you had with him, oh, you're the, so there was a whole lot of that, a whole lot.
I wouldn't say that came from my circle, and again, it's also how you look. Like I think being a father is the best version of me, and I looked at, again, in my fairy tale world that I lived at the time, I couldn't wait to be a better father than my father. So that was something that I was proud to be. Like, I was looking forward to the opportunity to be that. And I think that, to build on what the foundation of what my parents have created. And for them, and I'm still going through that journey right now, and able to see my son go through, figuring out who he is at the same time, and and understanding what I was, what me and his mother have essentially created for him through our separate journeys that we took, without us. And he's learned a lot from it. I think that he's able to see what he doesn't want on top of the things he does want to see.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask Henry a question? Is that okay?
I want us to move on, but come on, we're gonna close it out because this is more than just Henry and his his four children. I know it's gonna be a conversation, but go ahead.
That could be for the after show.
Being that he's the youngest, we're kind of giving him a baptism by fire, so that's why you get.
That's okay. I do this every day.
I think thanks for the points you're sharing and everything. So I just want to ask you a question. Do you want to get married again? And also,
He's never been married, I don't think.
Sorry, no, you've never been married, but do you see yourself getting married someday? And how would you expect the woman that you want to marry to deal with the fact that you have 3 different baby mamas? Because do you think, would you be upset if they try to judge you? Because I know men would sometimes judge a woman if she had 3 baby daddies.
No, so
as a matter of fact, in Nigeria, let me come from that. If you have more than 1 baby daddy, that's, you know what I'm saying? But 3, you might just they might just want to be your companion, especially if you have money. They might not want to settle down or marry you. But I just wanted to pose that question to you. Sorry.
Yeah. So to answer that question, number one is I date intentionally to get married. Like, I'm not wasting anyone's time. I'm not wasting my time. My goal at the end of the day is to find my person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And that will help me, will help with creating the kingdom that I've started. That's my goal. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, and then I'm obviously self-aware. Like, I'm not I've been doing this a while. I've been in the game for a little bit, but I know what I have, what I'm bringing to the table. Like, I know that good and bad, right? And however you want to look at that, it might be, hey, you got 4 kids, but you're a better father to your 4 kids than anyone I've ever seen in my life, right? And that's something that's the stamp I want to take, to want them to see. Not, hey, you got 4 kids and 4 baby mamas. Is, hey, you got all of that and you're still doing better than most, right? And I think that speaks for me, and speaks for what that's the outcome and the vision that I want whoever I'm with, to see through. Like, yeah. And I also, I'm self-aware of what if the roles were reversed. If I didn't have no kids and I was meeting somebody with the same situation, I'm mature enough and wise enough to sit down and have a conversation with them at the minimum, because they're still, at the end of the day, a human being. And I might find that we don't correlate in other areas, but that's so minimal to me, because I view family differently. So if the roles were reversed, I look forward to. I wanted a big family. I still want a big family, right? Clearly, right? But I don't. The ideas of a larger family, a blended family, doesn't bother me, because the optics of family means different to me. Well, what I'm saying is having say if I was to meet somebody who had kids themselves.
Right, I understand. No,
yeah. So if I was to meet somebody with kids, I would still look at it the same way, because I love the idea of being a father, and I think that that's the true measurement of me as a man is my children and my grandchildren.
So this is a good kind of question into what Henry was talking about, it a little bit of accepting people where they are, having a partner, especially people our age, having somebody where they are we still in the search of being somebody who needs a little bit more and wants to go a little bit further in their lives? Are you cool with somebody who's just comfortable with where they are in their journey, whether they are career path, what they want, how they want to move? Or is it more important for them to constantly, want more than where they are right now?
For me, it depends on where they are, right? So
what do you mean by that, Maria? So if he's a bus driver,
that's fine. But
okay.
if he's sitting on welfare, if he's collecting an unemployment check, and it's fine collecting an unemployment check, and that's good if he's there, but that's not where I want to be, right? And I say that because I'm where I'm at, but I still want more. So it's okay to want more, but it's okay to be comfortable. I know people who are in my space and are comfortable where they are, but they are self-sufficient. They're taking care of themselves. They're living good, fruitful, and joyful lives. So I'm okay if you're there too. So that's why I said it depends on where they are.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it depends. I agree with Maria on that. It depends on where they are at the time when you do meet them. That's why sometimes it's hard to say, I want this, that, because you don't know who you're going to meet and what space they're going to be when you do meet them. They might be in a space where I'm comfortable. I'm independent. I'm fruitful. The things that I want, desire, need, that are important to me.
Oh, there goes
Uh,
Malcolm again. He just kicked out. What about? Go ahead. Go ahead, Malcolm. Sorry.
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Tanera, what about you?
Um, I'm not as concerned about the outward stuff. So, where you are financially, this or whatever. I'm more attracted to someone who is still wanting to work on connecting, because two people come from two different worlds, two different backgrounds, experiences, everything. But someone who's willing to put in the work to understand my basic needs, I understand his basic needs, and we find that commonality. I don't think the exterior things matter as much when you have that internal desire to work.
So,
Right.
so we'll another layer to this question. Do they have to be of like mind or similar mindset? Like, do they have to, I'm not saying think like you, but besides common interests, Maria shaking her head no, but have same desires, same wants, same not same, but similar things that y'all are somewhat. What is the idea of the alignment with you guys at this point?
For me, it doesn't have to be exact. I think there needs to be some similarity. There needs to be some compatibility. But, I think if it's somebody who thinks and acts and moves like me, I'm going to get bored.
Yeah, right. You do
No,
want.
I'm not saying thinks and acts like you, but who you can move and shake with. You may have a different experience because he rocks this way, but he's like y'all are, but there is an alignment and a vision around it.
Look, as long as you're willing to rock and roll and try it on occasion, you don't have to do everything I do. As long as you're willing to do things and show up for me when I need you to show up, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I think that's a challenging question because, when I was married, my ex was, we were in similar careers. Our family structure was somewhat similar and that sort of thing. And so you think that those commonalities are better. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm dating now and we're from like total opposite stories in all senses. And to me, it's almost what Henry was saying. I hadn't heard it before, but it stuck to me what Henry said, like the pain that you go through, or even watching someone like really want to make it work through the differences and listening and trying to, make those things work. For some reason, I feel more connected than just the ease of a relationship of like, we just came together, similar backgrounds, we're flowing, that kind of thing. I haven't figured out yet which one is better, but I think that's a difficult question.
So is it?
So you're saying like the friction of the differences added to the attraction?
Is the friction of the differences adding to the attraction, or is it taking away? Is it going to be too complicated? I
think it's too I think it's too complicated. But the fact that he does not. And he's like, no, we can work through it. And as we work through one scenario and we get to the other side, I'm like, this is cool that effort is there. Whereas when I was with someone who was more similar, we didn't really make it to the other side because it was so similar that it was hard to see who was right or wrong. So we kind of just, and it could just be the individual. So,
right.
So can I ask this? Isn't it good to meet somebody that has similar interests? Like say you like to work out together, like to travel, or I think that
theoretically,
like going for walks.
Yeah. Well, we said some compatibility. There has to be some compatibility.
Some or at least willingness to. Yeah, because you what you want to do, I would hope, is you want to open up somebody to your world and you want them to open you up to their world, but you got to be willing to meet the partner or the person halfway to see what their world is like. And, sometimes that's more of a challenge than, than anything else. It's just, are you willing to put, like somebody just said, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to put in the effort? Because we all are coming from different backgrounds, experiences, walks in life. and things of that nature. So, you know, the real question is, what are you willing to put in that work to get to the other side? And are you consistent enough to get to the other side? That becomes maybe more of the challenge than anything else, I think.
So you're talking about compromise. I'm saying you already crossed that challenge if you meet somebody that has similar interests with you, and then you don't have to compromise. Say, like, you know, you like going out for walks, if you like working out together, and there's some other things where you guys might have differences.
Right.
You know, just
Right.
stuff you do for recreation.
Some
Right, right.
I think that you got to have some hard stops though. Like there's some certain things that you just got to be like, hey, then I don't care how nice you are, how many things we got in common. I'm not going. Like it is what it is, right? I don't care none of that, right?
Henry, you are ornery. I love it. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, man. I don't. People try to be too political. Like for me, if you're not a black woman, you're not for me. Move out my way. Like that's a hard no for me. Like
I hear you on that. If you're not a black man, I ain't.
All right, Dr. Uma.
You know what I'm saying?
You're not going to be getting any soon.
No, that's not a Dr. Umar thing. That should be a black man thing. I don't think that should be put under him. But no here, no there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But seriously, like there's certain things, like if you're not a maternal person, you're not for me. Move out my way. Like if you don't see family and value and cherishment of the family dynamic, you can go ahead and, you know, you look cute, right? Your booty nice, but move out my way. Like you taking up my space. You know what I'm saying? Like
you gonna say that after you hit,
deal breakers. We didn't talk about deal breakers yet, because I think
we weren't talking about deal breakers. I don't think.
I'm just saying in general.
This is not about deal breakers. I think it's about building compatibility and understanding what you realize, what you're really compatible with, and what you're absolutely not compatible with, and how does it matter to you socially? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I want to go to sports. You know how you can be the child of Shaq.
Yes.
But Shaq has all this talent, and you may have it as well. But because you live this plush life, you just don't even take the sport serious, even if you have the skill. Versus the kid who got to hustle, they got to pay some bills, they got to make it, etc. What I'm hearing, I'm not sure if I'm agreeing or disagreeing because I may not be understanding clearly, but sometimes you can pick someone who comes from a two-parent household that's like, I'm all about family, I'm da-da-da-da-da, and say all the right words. But 10 years later, they're not, because they don't even care about it. Where you can meet the man who didn't have a mom in the house and daddy was in the streets, whatever, and they value that. And so those differences, that's what I was saying. I don't know if meeting someone that's like you is better than meeting someone that's not. It's
right. That's what I was right.
And
I was going by what you were saying.
Yeah, I was thinking that's more of a fairy tale though. Like I think
what's a fairy tale?
I think that the belief that, hey, I want to meet someone that's completely different. We come from two separate sides of the world, and we found some way to make it work. That's just unrealistic. You know, from a psychological standpoint, right? People fall in love by proximity.
Psychological standpoints.
Yeah, they fall in love by. That's what love is. It's crazy for somebody, literally.
What do you do, Henry?
Me, I'm a financial advisor. But my degree is in social work and psychology. So let me just clear that up. That's why I can use that as my standpoint. But you know, love is about proximity. So you're gonna fall in love with the people that's closest to you. Again, not always, right? It's not no general rule, but if you look at statistically, you're gonna fall in love with people that's closest to you, right? And that's as far as proximity in area and by likeness. And for me, I think the fairy tale that we come from two different sides of the world, we're going to just make this thing work. No, I want someone who knows exactly the world I come from and exactly what I go through in that world, so I don't have to teach that to them.
But look at the statistics that Maria brought up, and I'm sure it's more common for people to have the mindset that you have, that they go into marriage versus the other. And so based on the stats, are we really doing the smart thing? Are we
eliminating good partners? And so
I think we're not making good partners to begin with.
Some of the things we might not be making good partners, but my question was, were we eliminating good partners based on this criteria that we've set, right? And so I think some of what you're saying, when you talked about your deal breakers, right? I think that was transcending almost everything that you're saying, right? Because you want a Black woman. That is clear. You want somebody that is what they say, equally yoked, right? In your world. And I think that most people on this panel are talking about Black people, right? We're not
Right.
talking about
Yeah.
engaging with others. So when that comes up as a deal breaker for you, our perspective is that's not even in the conversation. So
Yeah, that's not even in the comment. Yeah,
right?
that's
So that dynamic is already out the window. So
a
we're
given.
yeah, right. But that's it's
Yeah.
given for us. But
Well,
but
you say that, but then you talk about the focal point of the whole basis of this was talking about our circle, right?
my
Right.
circle is the circle I look at,
But
and that's what I'm
the
saying for us.
circle, and a lot of times we be around within our own circles. We have people who aren't choosing each other,
Right.
and that's part of. And so for me, you can't be in my circle if you're not choosing us.
Wow. They can't even be your friend?
For what? We don't share in the same mindset.
Okay.
Like you don't have my best interest at heart if you at home aren't choosing us.
Henry,
That's
what
the
happened,
most sacred place.
what happened to opposites attract?
I would love to talk to Henry in 15 years.
Yeah, I would love to talk to me
Yeah.
too, and I know exactly who you're gonna be with. So it's not
Henry,
it's not a
what
given.
happened to opposite attract? What happened to that
I
rule?
love it.
No, I do. I there in some sense opposites do attract, right? And that's that. I
Okay.
mean, in some senses, yeah, of course. But we're not. There's certain pillars and
you're always-
certain core
look,
areas
I
that
think
are
everybody-
always
Henry,
gonna.
Henry, I side with you on Black people for Black people. So
I
I'm
think,
okay with
so
that.
here, Henry,
No.
what I'm hearing, can I say something?
Some people, I'm okay with jungle fever. If you have jungle fever, it's cool.
Whatever.
I got jungle
Whatever,
fever, whole
Olu.
family. It's just
Yeah,
not
but you can't. That's fine. You can have jungle fever, but you can't talk Black and sleep white or sleep other. I don't know about you, but you don't have my best interest at heart. You can't because your most intimate and sacred moments, you sharing it with someone that don't look like you and sharing your experience.
So what do you think
Henry,
about
the young nationalist.
Go on, Henry.
I just call it common knowledge. That's all.
Y'all
That's
be-
common knowledge.
Getting a compliment.
So let me say this. So I think what it is like everybody. I feel like every relationship has its yin and yang, right?
Right.
In
Yeah.
some form or fashion. Whether that yin and yang never meet each other, but somehow y'all come together. Y'all never thought it would happen. That's what it is. But I wonder if it is what Henry is saying, and the reason, and after Maria read that statistic around marriage, I wonder, do we even as Black people look at marriage differently versus other cultures, and especially in America, and how we see marriage and how we approach it in a social aspect? Does that make sense? Go ahead.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I guess the real question is, like somebody was said, do people even see marriage as a value in their life? You know, like
are Black people jaded by the value of marriage altogether, based on
think
the
sometimes
that Maria just read, and how we even see? Because when I talk to white people about marriage, it's a business, it's commitment, it's building.
Yeah.
When I talk to Black folks, and love is somewhere sprinkled in there, maybe. When I talk to Black people about marriage, it's about love.
I don't really talk to other races about this. So I don't really know to be
honest. I don't have any friends of the opposite to really know their opinion.
This deep.
So let me throw this out there. So there are a few interracial marriages in my family. There are some friends that I know that are in interracial marriages, right? Some of them are white people, some of them are other people. I will say that if you watch the dynamics between them, there is that commitment. There is this adoration. There is this there is that business aspect about, you know, how we're going to move and how we're going to flow, but there is, I think, something to what Nat is saying, you know.
Right. Exactly, Maria. Henry, I know you weren't shaking your head.
Well, I was going to just drop a bomb on y'all, but just go ahead.
Go ahead, drop another one.
Henry.
So,
Go ahead,
so,
get it, man.
all right. So, but yeah, so I come from the product of an interracial relationship, right?
Really?
So,
That was not a bomb.
No, well, I can speak to both because my life is both, right? And I can say that from a multicultural perspective, that
parent.
there is a vast difference in how we view the product of those relationships, right? And I think we're not looking at marriages amongst our community, amongst the American African community as the outcomes enough, right? We're looking at what we get when we get there, right? When we first do it, but not the outcomes of that. And for this, whether it's from a business perspective, if we look at it from a business way, we're looking at a community way, we're looking at a culturally standpoint, or we're looking at a financial way, right? Because, you know, all of those are the outcomes that we want, right? We want the society to look good, right? As a people, like we want all of us to look good doing it. We want to make sure that our finances are good amongst our own family. We want to make sure that the dynamics of the culture, like, because if that wasn't real, then
wait, are we talking about white culture or black culture?
No, we're talking black culture.
Black.
Sorry.
I was like,
wait,
So we talking. We want to make sure, but they already got that. That's the problem, is that we're not looking at it in the same way. Like when they get married, as to your point, they're looking at it as a business decision. They're looking at what's in the best interest of the community, right? They're looking at what the imaging looks like. Like, 'cause they want to make sure that, hey, you know, that they see white on white relationships. They want to see white marriages prosper, right? They identifying that in their decision that they made. We're not doing that equally. You know, because if we love to talk about Black love, but we don't talk about it in the same aspect as we talk about that Black work, right? The Black pain that comes from marriage, right? We don't talk about both sides of the story. We always talk about how great it is and not the pain and how hard it is to get to where we want to get to, the end product of all of it.
And why is that?
Because that's part of our trauma. Most of us haven't even seen it. Most of us within our own families haven't even seen a prosperous end product relationship within our own family dynamic. And few of us even have that to grasp on amongst further generations. Like our grandparents weren't even married most of the time. And again, that's where I think that statistic doesn't hold the same weight, is that we look at statistics, but we never want to understand the why. And I think that and why are we getting these outcomes the way they are when it's not like that across every other spectrum? Why are we the outlier in that? And when we look at those statistics in those populations, and I think that comes down to we have a different view to the end goal, as well as we have a different path that we even got to get to this point.
We have a different.
I think the pathway is sometimes harder than even figuring before. Some of us never get the end goal
because we haven't figured, because we don't want to talk about the path to get here.
The end game sometimes isn't.
If white people are marrying for business, why are so many white women going after Black men?
Because because it's economically effective for them to do so.
It is.
Yes. How many? Well, no. Yes, but how many white? I don't know too many white women that go after broke Black men.
Oh my God!
So you need to go to the trailer park.
No. We're talking marriage.
We're not talking about economics. We're not talking about we have not brought economics in class into this conversation, right? Because there are white women who go after the poor Black men. Right.
Absolutely.
And then there are the ones
and they get married to them.
And then they're the ones
Yes.
At what rate? At what rate though?
What rate? They're the ones,
a lot. That's a lot.
And then they're the ones that go after the the pro athletes and all that other stuff. Class is a conversation that has as a topic that needs to be included in the conversation if you're going to talk about people's perception of marriages, because Black folks in this country have always tried to prove how acceptable we are by mirroring white patterns, and that includes patterns of marriage. You will see more if those statistics did not include age and did not include class. If they did, I'm sure they would be skewed differently.
Right. Yeah. Class is a real thing.
But I think also being married is part of the elite now because it's so economically rare. I think that's what they have said. Like marriage is part of an elite status just because you are able to hopefully, more than likely, bring amongst two incomes and so on and so forth.
But there's another layer to that.
Well, it's acceptable now too that it's acceptable that you don't have to provide.
Well, wait a minute. Let's go into this different conversation too, right? Can I throw something out?
Go ahead, Maria.
If you bring class into it, right? In certain circles, the expectation is that you should be married, and if you're not married,
what's wrong?
There's an exclusion from the activities or from the circle, or you're kind of looked at as, particularly for women, but for men too. You know, as
that's the two statements.
Are you coming in? Are you coming in looking for a man to keep her away from my husband? Oh, he's a single guy. Let's the wives need to go over here. This is a wife. This is a married people's event, and I've heard those things so many times in certain. But that had to do more with the settings and the economic income, right? The class status of the folks in those settings.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a valid point. I've heard those conversations before.
Sure, I was told, oh, you can't sit here. This is married people's table.
Yeah, somebody said that to me one time. I had to go to this black tie event.
Was it like, oh, this is the marriage?
Yeah, that one.
I think it's also, look, I think that's socially who we are. Some of us only want to be around a certain type of person with a certain status, or if they look a certain way, or so on and so forth, because it makes us look good. This is the married. It's like it's a little high school. This is the married crew over here. This is the cute girl, fly girl crew over here. This is the dope dudes that got all the money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she's telling the truth, because that table, with everybody at that table was mad. Everybody. I was like, oh, let me slide over here. That's
why you came to talk to me.
What did you say?
That's why I came and bumped into you. I saw that. I was like, yo, let me slide over here with the other folks. And it was a good look. So yeah, that's a real thing.
Anyway, that was strategic. I mean, so that you know where the single people are versus the married people. Because Henry said, even if you have a ring on, people gonna flirt. At least they can identify you by your table.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't. He was a guest at the other table, and so he just went and walked the room to find people to talk to, so he didn't feel.
Yeah, so I was where Marie was. Marie was with the cool kids. So it worked out well.
But meanwhile, the spouses are all cheating. They just, don't want them to cheat with us, because the assumption is it's us who they cheating with.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Yes,
that's a whole nother show.
That is a whole other show. We're gonna have to wrap it up soon. Great. This has been good. This is so damn good. Lord Jesus Christ. Final question for you guys. If you had, I guess my question is like, what are you still getting pressured to be married? And do you want to get married still or not? And why not? Huh? What did you say? What did you say, Tanera?
Oh, I said I'll go. I'm not getting pressured. I don't want to get married again. Not to say that I won't, but my initial response is no. And it's just because been there, done that. And I feel like when it was really time for us to potentially go our separate ways, there was so much to consider outside of just choosing one another. You got to go file, you got to go do this, and what are we going to do with this and that sort of thing, that at this stage of my life, I want to be chosen every day. I want to choose every day. And if something goes wrong, I want to be able to walk away, and I want him to be able to walk away.
Okay. Does it affect your social status at all, whether you're married or not?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You don't care.
Don't care. But, no, I don't think it does.
Okay.
You know?
Do you think it pressures you to, does that status pressure you to be in a relationship though? Does your social circle even push, not even marriage, but I guess even more so just being in a relationship versus being a single woman at 50?
Unfortunately, based on the stats, there's a goo-gob of single folks and there's a goo-gob of married folks. So just depending on where I want to flow, I guess being in a relationship but not married, I can flow in either one. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the middle. So no, it doesn't affect anything.
Okay, Sunshine, married people cheat more. Maria.
Yes. Ask me the questions
Sorry.
again.
Same question. Lord have mercy.
Okay, so
Sunshine.
what I think one of them was, did I want to get married?
Do you want to get married?
I think I answered that in the beginning.
So are you still feeling,
married?
do you feel, let me say this, do you feel more of an internal pressure? Because I know you're in a relationship. Do you feel more of an internal pressure? And
that relationship is about done. So
okay,
but no. I do not feel pressure from at this point in my life from any way, whether it's this outside, inside, upside, mama, grandmother's not here anymore, but mama, sisters, cousins. I don't feel pressure from anybody to be married or to be in a relationship. I do know there is a desire, for example, from my mother to be in a relation, for me to be in a relationship. I would like to be in the kind of relationship I described in the beginning. If that leads to marriage, I'm fine with that. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that too, as long as it meets all the other criteria, right? There are some things I'm not willing to bend on. That I do have some deal breakers, and
what is one of your deal breakers, Maria?
For me, honesty and fidelity.
Okay.
Right. That doesn't mean that we can't work through it if there's a challenge, but there can't be a pattern.
Okay.
Right. And it can't be a consistency. There has to be respect for me. And if I don't feel that respect and that safety, then for me, I can't stay in the space I don't feel protected in. That I don't.
Somebody had this is interesting. How long should you date before you say it's a relationship?
That's a mutual conversation.
If we do it, you my boyfriend.
If we do it.
Samira ain't no piece of ass.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah.
That question?
Yeah.
I think both of you, I think you would just know when you feel it. And I think it's the man that should make, I just think it's us, seriously, to make that woman, see a woman that you appreciate, tell her like, look, I'm into you.
Right.
Let's start this off. Let's you and I exclusive, no games. We're of age. If you're talking to anybody, whatever, let it just be us. So
I agree with you on that 100%. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think it starts with us.
It's based on feelings, I think. So I don't really think there's a time limit. You know it. And let me tell you something. We men know.
No.
Yeah, we know when we want that woman to be our woman. We know.
Yeah, we know.
We know.
But she'll be like
that don't mean she want to be yours though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
We have to discuss.
So I think that you got to choose people. I'm in the belief of choosing people who choose you. So I'm not. I'm going to say, hey, this is what my intentions are. This is what I want from it, right? And we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna make a mutual decision to make that commitment together. Because I might trust me. I want Alicia Keys more than anyone in the world, but she don't mean she choosing me. That's irrelevant, right? I'm still but I'm just saying.
There's issue with that phrase. You hear it all the time. I choose people who choose me. I choose people who choose me. So it's almost the saying, I don't have a choice, but if you choose me, I'm gonna go with you.
It sounds like there's no standard.
I have to choose you too, though. It has to be mutual.
That's not what's conveyed. I choose people who choose me. I hear that all the time, and I do.
I believe the other way can't be right, because you can't be like, okay, well, this ideology, right, of just to keep applying more pressure, like keep trying at the same person and getting running your head against the wall.
I'm not saying applying pressure. I'm saying.
Can I ask? So is it basically y'all have to choose each other?
Yeah, it has to be a conversation. It has to be a conversation. Because, for example, I might want to be exclusive, but she might not want to be. That's not. We don't correlate.
You need to have a discussion, and you need to have a conversation. And
conversation.
As a man, you need to be intense and say, "Look, this is what I want. Do you want this?" If she says no, peace.
Right, exactly. But I think she should have the same ability to ask the same thing of me. I think that women have to do better at demanding what they want from men more often. If you want a man to be a certain way, then you should like set the table and say, "Hey, cool. This is how you want to move. I want you to move this way. You can make your choice to move this way or not. That's up to you. But this is what I expect of you."
I think women have been consistent with that.
I think as the man, we need to take charge and we need to be more intentional. It's like, look, I want you to be my woman.
Yeah, that's how I got in this last relationship. He said to me, in case you had any doubts, you're my woman now. Are you cool with that?
I think like, so. Yeah, I always be like, what does that mean, and who does that entail? And we had
that conversation as well.
My follow-up question: is there any other woman that thinks she's your woman?
Oh, we had that conversation as well. We had that conversation too. I'm not saying that's eliminated.
Is there any other man that thinks he? I mean, those are the questions you got to ask people.
Yes, all of that was part of the conversation, but it started with him declaring that that's what he wanted. Not saying I wouldn't have, because I'm fine saying what I want, but it started. He made that first move.
Okay, and sorry, it's not just saying it. You have to act it too. You have to behave. You have to behave that way. You have to let everybody, like when you're going out, you invite her, you take her everywhere. Let people know that yes, this is your woman, and she does the same. And
I think also that dating.
No friends we used to talk to, no friends we used to smash, no exes. It's just you and I now.
I think that's why I think
smash partners. I ain't your woman.
Go
ahead, Henry.
Yeah, I would say that's why it's important to date exclusively first prior to getting into relationships. I think that going from talking to a relationship is a night and day difference. I think that there has to be a piece in the middle where you have tested the waters of being exclusive with that person, and then you can see different dynamics of that person, right? So you're saying, hey, because like to someone else's point, once we smash, that might be someone's clicking or crazy, right? So you might find that out to do that, right? Or
so running out of time. Damn, we gotta have.
You know what? I like this millennial energy. Thank you, Henry. This was fun.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you gotta be strategic, man. You can't just go from date to can we dating? Because you could be dating 5 other people, and then if that one person said it first, and you're like, okay, well that sounds like a good idea. That shit don't make no sense. I want to date with you exclusively to see what you are when we go out together. I want to see you when you get mad. But isn't that
part of the process anyway?
First of all, that's not what I was saying. I was just giving an example because those conversations were.
Yeah, but I know I'm speaking just in general. So I know a lot of people will date and jump from a relationship, just from dating to a relationship because that person essentially asked first. Right.
So you talking about courting time.
Yeah. I mean, I think exclusivity has to have value. Even if it's just okay, cool. We physically are exclusive to each other, but then we equally emotionally and psychologically tied to each other as well. Because hey, I might have my favorite person, and I'm gonna go to that person every single time because it's my favorite. She's the best at it, right? That's not my commitment to you, though. I'm committing everything to you is different than my favorite, So,
you know what?
So let me try to clear up a misconception. So just because some women smash, don't mean they want to be in a relationship with your ass. She might just want to smash, and that's it.
That's true.
Yes.
That might be. That's a real thing.
I know a couple of sisters like that, and guys can't hang when they
guys can't handle that.
When they give them what they say they want and they want it too, they get all in their feelings and they can't handle it.
Yes. Yes.
Another great
Bravo
show.
to this panel. Y'all were on fire tonight. Woo, child. Lord have mercy. Thank you,
I like Henry, though.
Sarah.
Henry-
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, Henry has to come
Thank
back.
you, Olu.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm gonna be back, y'all. Don't worry.
Malcolm A. Henry, we're gonna have to have Henry once a month. Lord have mercy. I'm exhausted. But we got the after party. So come to the after party and conversation. And I'll see y'all then. Thank you, everybody.
Great show,
Good
Natalie.
night.
Good night.
Join Stacked After Hours, The Spot, where grown men and women gather to have candid, also honest discussions about the state of life, love, and more. The Spot is a hybrid of in-person and weekly virtual gatherings. Join our Facebook group and answer our daily questions. Subscribe to our YouTube for our weekly live talk shows and join us on Zoom for our talk show after parties for lively conversations with other opinionated, grown, and sexy professionals. Just search, like, follow, and subscribe to Stack After Hours on Facebook groups and YouTube. Also like and follow our brand pages at Be Stacked Wellness on Facebook and IG. So wherever you are, at home or abroad, pull out your laptop, tablet, or smartphone and join in the conversation with the members of Stacked After Hours. The Spot by Be Stacked Wellness. See you there.
As you know, and if you are new to the Stacked family, we always keep our conversations lit and enlightening.